Okay, we're on. It's a go. Hey, thanks for being here. When you type in your questions or post a question, we'd love to know what country you're from. The United States is a country, so state would be good. But I'm here with my good friend, Tom Big Al Schreiter. Real thrilled to have him here. How are you liking Hawaii so far?
It's a hard place to leave. So, nothing but perfect weather, perfect sunshine, no rain. Yeah, life is tough.
Yeah, all we gotta do, and all we gotta do is find the perfect prospect, right?
So some people live the network marketing dream, and other people get to visit people that live the network marketing dream. We're here at Mark's house, overlooking beautiful Hawaii. So let's get started with some questions.
Sure, let's get going. I just want to let you know, if you're not familiar with the story, I was suffering in network marketing, like a lot of people, because I didn't have one thing, and that was the skills, which someone in a lobby, when I broke down in tears, led me to somebody who led me to Al, who was a teacher mentor, and it's really nice to have you in our home. So if we're going to start with some questions that were emailed while they start coming in. Just basically, I think it's a good one for you, Al. This is actually from Jackson about closing, which we were kind of talking about yesterday. He says, I'm getting people to look, but I can't get them to enroll. What tips do you have on closing?
Obviously something's going wrong because most people that look are already pre-sold. Everybody we talk to is pre-sold. The example I like to use, if you sell nutrition, everybody you talk to, do they want to live longer or die quickly? Most people say, live longer. What, more money in their life or less money? They say, more money. So we offer them a chance to live longer, and we offer them a chance to have more money. At the end of the presentation, they tell us no. And the answer is, what we have done is taken a pre-sold prospect and literally talked them out of it with our random use of oral diarrhea, too long presentation words. And we've talked them out of it so badly that they almost say to us, I'd rather die quickly and be broke rather than do business with you. And if that's only for nutrition, same thing for skincare or travel, whatever we do. Most people we talk to have problems. Our business can solve them. So why do they tell us no? And they tell us no because we haven't learned some skills of our profession first. And one of the skills is that closing happens way before the presentation started. Mark and I were talking about this yesterday, that if you just observe real life, when do people make decisions? Or how much information do they need? And the example we like to use is fat people. We got the information. We have books, we have CDs, we have, testimonials, weight loss. If people made decisions on information, there'd be no fat people.
Right.
And ask yourself, are you ever going to see fat people? That should prove to you that information has nothing to do with it. So not only is it not information, it's also when they make the decision, and that is way before the information starts. So I ask you, if you get a telephone call from a salesman by phone, how soon do you make the final decision? Most people say, caller ID.
Right.
Before the presentation. I say you watch a video on YouTube, how many seconds into the video before you make your final decision you want to watch it? And they say, 5 seconds. Right. I say, when do you make a decision to go to a restaurant? After you've seen the menu or before? Well, most times I go in before I've even seen the menu. I said, just look at real life. Our prospects have already made their final decision in the first few seconds, and we have to learn to manage that time in network marketing. Humans make their final decision before the presentation starts. So the question is, when's a good time to close? And of course, Mark and I are talking about it. You have to close way before we even start. So there's some fundamentals that are missing if you're doing a whole presentation and they're saying no. The correct sequence would be, you build their trust, you close the prospect that they want to do it, and then your presentation is actually the first training session where you're actually explaining them how it works. So tips on closing: close early, and you'll actually be closing to programs in their subconscious mind. Things like survival, love of family, what they want out of life. And that means you have to be a good listener to find out their problems. So if you're a good talker, it's going to hurt. But if you're a good listener, you're going to find out their problems, and you'll know how to close and get their commitment way before the presentation starts. So if you're closing after the presentation, you might have to keep the day job.
Yeah,
that's not going to work very well.
You know, I hope that helps you, Jackson. You know, again, we were talking about this yesterday. What I like to do at the beginning of the presentation is I understand that the person is closed in the first 7 to 21 seconds, and it's really simple. At that point, the rest of that conversation is getting the possibility to declare that they're a prospect. To me, the difference between a possibility and a prospect is a possibility is someone who's agreed to look. A prospect has told you their reasons why they want to look, which means I can't find out what their reasons are if I'm talking. So a really good way to improve closing is to use a little 3-minute egg timer, okay? And what I do with this little 3-minute egg timer is it's empty on one side, and when you're talking, turn it over and let the sand run through. When the prospect's talking, turn it back over the other way. They should be talking, if they're talking 80% of the time, they're selling themselves on the business. It's really fundamental. People don't join the business because you're going to be the next billion-dollar company. They don't join the business because you have X1-74 in your product. They join the business for the hope of a different outcome. And if you do what Al's suggesting, we have different styles around it, but it's basically the same thing, is get this suspect / possibility to declare themselves a prospect by letting them share with you what it is they want a little bit more in their life. And if you'll do that and ask them to this simple question, if Jack and Jill were walking across stage with those diplomas without debt, or if Bonnie could go in and fire her boss, how do you think that would make you feel? How would that feel for you? And they'll tell you it'd feel great, it'd feel awesome, it'd feel incredible. Right at that point, they have given you the question to ask them at the end of the presentation so that enrolling is easy, because they are coming to a presentation to join. And I find that most of us talk them out of it, right? So it's really the same thing, just a different angle on it. Here's one that I think you might like. I think you've probably heard this in every country that you've ever been in, Alf. Shirley emailed this in. Where do I find good prospects, more people to talk to?
This is a question that's asked all the time, and there's really two sides. There's one side not seeing what's going on, the other side seeing what's going on. And the thing to remember is almost everybody is pre-sold already. Like the example I gave earlier, people want to live longer, have more money, they want less wrinkles, they like to travel on great holidays, they like what we have to offer, they definitely want it. They may not want our version of how we describe it.
Right.
So when I first got started, I described some really great things badly, and everybody said, I don't like your version. And that's not the way to go. So we have to say, all right, if everybody's a prospect, why do I have to look for good prospects? And I said, well, if you have limited time, I can understand. You might want to prejudge, because if you only have limited time, if you consider that some people are stuck here where they say 9 to 5, nothing else in life, and some people over here just can't wait to go. Well, if you have limited time, you might want to talk to people closer to here. Right. And is that prejudging? Absolutely, yeah, because you can't talk to everybody. So if you had a choice, if everybody could be a prospect, but some are more ready in their life to take action now, let's talk to the ones that are more ready. And I'll give you some examples of where to find these people. You don't find them on lead lists that have been called 500 times. I'm sorry. But the people on lead lists are prospects. But if you're looking for the super hot, totally motivated, just right next to the edge there, consider this. Every person you talk to, you say, oh, wait, I want somebody motivated. They want to do something in life. They want more than where they are right now, and they're willing to take action. Well, that sounds like somebody with a full-time job and a part-time job. So every human being with a part-time job that has a full-time job is a super hot prospect. They don't want to work 2 jobs the rest of their life. They're willing to do something about it. They're motivated. They're at the point in their life where they want to take action. I have to do is find people with part-time jobs in addition to their full-time job, and talk about a mother load of people to find. They say, well, who else is closer? Oh, how about people that are taking evening classes to improve themselves in their careers? They want more. They're investing time. Those are great people. I like to go to night school, places like that. I have examples of doing that. What about misfits? You go to the manager at TGIF Friday and say, who have you fired recently for insubordination, who thought they could do it better, that wanted to take charge? Misfits are awesome.
Right.
I mean, these people are ready to leave the 9 to 5. So these are more motivated, hotter prospects toward taking action. But everybody is a prospect. So if you want to have hotter prospects, it just takes a little imagination. I'll give one example very quick. I was living in Chicago many years ago, and on 31st Street, there's Illinois Institute of Technology. They had evening classes, and I just said to myself, I want somebody who's local, who's working. I like the leads exclusive to me, want to improve their life, and as long as I'm doing a great wish list, I said I want somebody that loves sales instead of hates sales.
Right.
So all I did was go to Illinois Institute of Technology at night. The Cosmopolitan Chamber of Commerce had like a free school for nothing, or for $5 you could register for a course. I said, everybody at the courses live locally. They're not going to fly in for it. They're going to have jobs because they're taking a night course. Their leads will be exclusive to me. They're motivated, want something more in life. That's why they're doing a night course. And I thought, what kind of course should I take? Should I take basket weaving or accounting? Nah, I think I'll take a sales course. Because every person who signed up for that sales course loves sales. So I signed up for the Larry Wilson trainer. He gave a sales course, I think it was an hour and a half on Tuesday nights for about 6 weeks. So it was about six classes. I got 5 or 6 of my downline to sign up with me. We could learn. 43 people in the course, and at the end of the course, after those 6 classes, 37 are in our downline. It's like, these are people that's right next to the edge. They love sales. Everything's qualified. So why not talk to them in the limited time that we have? So that's an example of locating, but everybody could be a great prospect. And we just have to move them along, or some people are on the edge right now.
Right. Well, one of the things that I remember you saying really early on, and I've stolen it, or you stole it from me, and I stole it back. Doesn't matter. That debate's never going. Yeah, that debate's never really going to end. But that nobody is really a prospect until we talk to them. It's always been my hope that I'd be driving through a neighborhood and there'd be a sign in somebody's yard that says, "I'm looking for an MLM. I have a credit card. I have 10 hours a week." But until that happens, we've got to talk to people. And there's not a person on the planet that wouldn't like more time or more money. And how you frame that is really, really important. In terms of networking, Shirley, that emailed this question, and it's a question that I had too, and I found my own way, and I'll share that with you. But basically, if you're looking for good people to talk to, when I see a question like this, how do I find good people to talk to? What it really means is we've been slothful or remiss in filling the top of the funnel, right? Getting new names in. And all of a sudden we don't have people to talk to, and that feeling of desperation comes over us. So the first step is to take personal responsibility. And I like to tell people, because the internet has really sort of infected, it's brought some great things to the table, but it's infected a few things. Folks, we're network marketers. That means we enroll people so that we can meet the people they know. And it might be a good idea to get involved in your community on some level. I went just the other way, but did exactly the same thing. At local high schools, a lot of times they'll have adult education that people can take courses for free. So I taught a course on the difference between direct sales and network marketing. 7 or 8 people showed up in that, 2 couples and 5 other people, and 4 of them ended up in our downline, and 1 of them built a huge downline. So it was really cool. It went in and taught 2 classes, and then their project was to come to an opportunity meeting. And they were ready to buy and ready to join. The point is, in your own community, you have to network out. And I'll give you 2 tips about that. 1, don't join, the Chamber of Commerce or the Lions Club and go in and pitch everybody. Make an authentic contribution. Become known as a networker. Listen for what people do. Harry's a carpenter. Al's got a broken porch. You send Harry to Al. Make a lot of marriages. People will get to know you as someone who's a networker. That guy knows everybody. Find out what people do. Find out what their problems are. Go to the ribbon cutting ceremonies. And within 4 or 5 months, you'll be accepted into that clan. And they'll want to know what you're doing. Because every insurance man and network marketer joins BNI and that other stuff and starts blah, blah, blah. Go and make a contribution. We're in network marketing. What does that mean? Well, it's the name of the industry, it's the occupation, and it's really the task is to meet people and get to know them. So find some groups that you like or might be interested in. Nothing wrong with making a contribution in your community. How we doing online there, baby? We got some questions coming in you can feed us? Okay? So, we'll move on to, this is one of my favorites. How do I approach old friends who I haven't talked to in years?
Carefully. In network marketing, when we ask this question, we're suffering the penalty of not keeping our relationships current over the time. So it's hard to call your friend and say, "Hi, hey, remember me from high school? Well, I sit pretty close to you. And by the way, do you keep your income options open?"
Yeah.
And, oh, yeah, that's really nice. The penalty for not keeping our relationships current is calls like that, and I don't think we should make those. There's better ways of doing it. And you think, well, the penalty for having to prospect anyway is just not having the skills of creating prospects on demand. So if you learn the skills of creating prospects instantly everywhere you go, you won't have to pay the penalty of making those horrible phone calls to people that don't even remember you.
Right.
I don't think any of my classmates even remember that I exist. I just kind of flowed through the school. So what kind of skills would you need instead? In your life, you stop by the gas station, and I'm going to ask, do you pay at the pump or pay inside? And if you pay at the pump, bad idea. Very few gas pumps join. So inside is the real people. You go inside, and what do you know about this person? People go, oh, I don't know. Well, let's see. Does this person love his job or hate his job? And I'm thinking, probably hate his job. And if it's at night, he doesn't like being human target practice for guarding his employer's money. And does he like the hours he's getting? Does he want more money in life? Would he like to be his own boss? Like some more freedom? I think this is a pretty hot prospect.
Right.
And this person is totally qualified, very, very hot. And they're going to make a decision not on our opportunity. They're going to make a decision how we approach them. So if I approach him and I say, boy, do I have an opportunity for you, he might say, oh, I think I'll be a little bit skeptical. Throw up the salesman alarm, too good to be true filter, what's the catch? It's going to be ugly. But you could maybe approach him in a different way by saying, well, you know how jobs really interfere with the week? And I'm going to go, yeah, they really interfere with the week. Yeah, well, I just found out how we can maybe do our own hours. If you'd like to know, I'll be glad to tell you. Meanwhile, here's my credit card, for the 44 bars of Snickers and the Diet Coke. Yeah. And he's going to say, well, tell me more. And just how you approach people to build their trust is where the decision is actually being made. So instead of calling people that don't even know you or barely remember you or cold list, you can just create them on demand. But you can use the same skills on a cold mailing list that you bought or on your high school person that you barely remember. You can use the same skills. But the bottom line is what you say in the beginning, you can create them on demand and have all the prospects you want. And if you're shy, I'm not outgoing like Mark, so I tend not to approach strangers very often unless I see a real need for them immediately. So what I like to do is get other people to find them for me. If you can imagine an average person knows 200 people, probably most of them could be prospects, but there's 3, 4, 5 of them that'd be really good. So I'd like to talk to those 3, 4, 5 people because they're pretty close to making a decision on doing something. All I need to do is have them send me those 3, 4, 5 people, and I save everybody's time. And how you get that name is by asking for referrals. So the penalty of not knowing how to ask for referrals is those stupid phone calls to our ex-classmates. So how would you ask for referrals? A very simple way is you have to remember that the person giving the referral to you, they have tremendous downside and no upside. They're not getting money for giving you a referral. All they can get is grief if you do a bad job. So we have to respect that a lot of people say, I was born of orphan parents, raised by wolves, I lost my Christmas card list, I don't know anybody. And that's the answer you're going to get if you ask wrong. So instead of just asking, who do you know would want to join my business that you just turned down, you might say, what insurance people do? They ask specific questions, so it'll trigger in their mind specific people, like, who do you know that really hates their job? Or who do you know that, I don't know, would like to stay home with their children? Or who do you know that would like to commute shorter? Or who do you know would just like to have a career where they can contribute instead of moving paper from one side to another? Or who do you know that would like to lose weight? Ask specific situations, and people give you specific names. It's a little bit easier to talk to these people. So these are hotter prospects, closer to the line, and you're just as strange to them as you would be to that classmate 20 years ago that doesn't remember you. So that's how I would look for better prospects. Mark?
Yeah, one of the things that I do, and this is a little bit different, sure, is my beautiful wife, the fabulous Davine, is as far as talking to old friends, 180 degrees from Al, but for a reason. I love calling people that I haven't talked to in 10 or 20 or 30 years. There's a really easy way to do it, and there's a function to it, and that is learn two skills. Your most people skill, which we have on our site too, and instant rapport. Those two skills together are deadly. They're just absolutely going to get you a yes 90 to 100% of the time if you're bad at it, and 100% of the time if you're just relaxed about it. So what I love doing, this works 100% of the time because it's so out of the blue. You call your old high school chums. You know, I haven't talked to them in 15 or 20 years. Hey, Harry, it's Mark J. We went to AIC together. Yeah, I was the guy in Theta Chi, the Animal House. Oh, yeah. And this is what you tell them. Just be honest. It's so refreshing. And remember what you're doing here. You're sharpening the saw with the skills like instant rapport in most people, so that when you do come across higher quality prospects or they're more receptive at the time, you're great at the skills. So I'm going to say, hey, Harry, it's Mark J. We went to AIC together. I was in Theta Chi, the Animal House, right? Oh, yeah, Mark, how you doing? Well, I want to tell you, Harry, right up front, this is a sales call. Now, I don't like making them any more than you like getting them. Would it be okay with you if I gave you my little 17-second pitch, and then we got caught up, and 100% of the time they're going to say okay, and you get to use those two skills. I'm telling you, folks, made a fortune on instant rapport, which is 3 simple sentences, and maybe Al will have some time to talk about that later, coupled with the most people skill. I'm going to give my little 17-second pitch, and you already heard earlier today from both Al and I that we're closing at the beginning, not at the end, and you're out of the misery. I've hated and always have hated the idea of form, family, occupation, recreation, money. When you approach people that way, you're approaching with a hidden agenda. And if they're too dumb to see it, they're too dumb to build the business, okay? So just be honest with people. That's really what I like to do. And, you know, as far as talking to people, if you're a little shy and talking to people, I like to have people find people for me too. And this is how I do it. You know, people don't like to admit they don't know how to do something. They have an ego, and they don't want to admit things aren't bad. So sometimes a direct approach, if you're looking for referrals, can be a little challenging for some of us. I like what's known as the third-party approach, and it might go something like this. Hey, Al, listen, I just got involved in a business, and I know you're too busy for what I do, but I'm looking for 2 or 3 people that might like to earn an extra $2,000 to $3,000 a month, very part-time, as long as they're trustworthy, because they're going to be handling a lot of income. And what's going to happen is about 50% of the time they'll say, well, what is it? What's it about? And as soon as they say that, they're telling you that they want to make the money, that they're interested. So I like to call that the third-party approach. I'm asking them, similar to you, Al, if they know anybody that would like to earn some additional income. Do you know anybody that has about 8 to 10 hours a week? It's full-time pay. I know you're too busy for this. And they're going to say, what is it? And say, well, look, I know you wouldn't recommend anything to anybody unless you actually knew what it was, because you're that kind of a person. So why don't we get together for about 10 minutes? I'll show you what I'm doing. And that's worked out pretty good. That's a third-party approach. So Sammy has a question, and I think this is bread and butter for you, Al. How do I retail? Help.
Gee, how do I don't know what you retail, but I'm guessing you retail a product or service. You narrowed it down right there.
We'll take a wild guess there.
And you want to find people who want it, not need it. There's a huge difference between those two words. A lot of people need things but don't want it. And you find that out very quickly when you talk to your co-workers about network marketing. They need the extra income, but they don't want it because they're pretty comfortable where they are. And they are going to stay in that misery because they don't have a want for it. So if you're going to retail, you might want to go retail to people that has a huge want instead of a huge need. For example, you get a postcard from the dentist saying time for your annual checkup. And if you're like some of us, we might look at that and say, well, that's an interesting postcard for the trash. I'll get back on that in another year or two. But get a toothache, and your face is swollen out to here. You can only see out of one eye, sucking your meal through a straw. Pain pill doesn't kill, And, you're calling the dentist. And you call the dentist, oh, I got a toothache, and the dentist says, oh, sorry, I'm booked up for 3 weeks. What do you say? Oh, okay. No, you say, I'm coming in. I got I'm coming in. We're going to sit on the sofa. Somebody cancels their appointment. I'm taking their place. If nobody cancels when you're eating your lunch, eating your sandwich, look inside my mouth. And we're pre-sold. We're ready to go. And we make the decision just that quick. So what we want to look for if you're retailing is people in that mode. Best example I can think of is I was eating Mexican food, which has happened on occasion. I crossed with this young lady, and she sold some weight loss products. So as I'm eating about 1,000 calories of chips and queso, I asked her, so how's it going? She says, oh man, I'm just so tired. All day long I'm just delivering weight loss products. And I'm going, oh. I said, so just out of curiosity, professional curiosity, so how are you retailing all these weight loss products where all you do is just deliver all day long? Here's what she said. She says, I go to bridal shows. And I'm thinking, well, every bride wants to lose weight. And she says, you go to a bridal show, and how much is the bride going to family spend on a wedding? $20,000. So, do you think the bride wants to look good? I was like, well, yeah. So this is for another $600. You can look fabulous. You'll lose a few pounds, look great in your dress. Right. $600 is nothing compared to $20,000 they're going to spend on it. And she says, not only that, the bride, gets on it right away, but what about the bride's mother? She says, oh, I'm going to be in a picture. It's not going to be good. I better get on it too. And the mother-in-law and the bridesmaids, they're going to be made look ugly in those dresses anyway, so at least they want to look thin in an ugly dress. Right. And she says, I'm always delivering these, product. So think about people who desperately want your product. And if you sold travel, same thing. Who do you know that just loves to travel, just wants to be out and about and have longer holidays or better holidays? So the secret is finding people in high levels of want, not need. Everybody needs a vacation, but some people want it so desperately that they're willing to join your business sight unseen just to be on that holiday. Right. And think about it. Maybe they watched some streaming video of a nice place in Hawaii where you could sit on Mark's deck, and they're thinking, yeah, I could probably fly there and stay with Mark for a while. And
Absolutely.
Yeah. So find people who are closer to wanting it, not needing it, but wanting it. And I don't know what your product is, but gosh, if it was skincare for wrinkles, just think, who wants to get rid of wrinkles quickly with the class reunions coming up? Just get the list of the class reunion. And hey, if you want to be innovative, look at it this way. Maybe you sold skincare. And you say, all right, I'll just get the we have a class reunion coming up in a year. I'm going to have a 19th year class reunion at my house, barbecue, and get them all together. It's 1 year before our next reunion. Let's see how good who's going to look good and who's going to look. I have the skincare, no brainer.
No brainer. Yeah, one of the things that I like with, first of all, I love the question. I've noticed in the industry overall in the last several years because of the wonder of the internet, and it is wonderful because we're here with you today, but it has created this sponsor more mentality. And so let me be on the bully pulpit here for a minute, folks. This idea of sponsor more, sponsor more, sponsor more, the biggest regret that I have in network marketing is I sponsored too many people in the business. The last deal we built was over 10,000 active reps, and all I sponsored was 17 people. To build to 10,000, work with your people. And I love this question about retail because it occurred to me actually from my beautiful wife, the fabulous Davine. I was looking at my downline report, and I'm looking at the distributors. She had about 4 or 5 distributors. She was just getting started. And the average distributor at that company, you could be 50, 100, or 150 BV as your pin level went up. And the average was around 80. And the people in her group were doing 400 and 500. And the next month, the 4 or 5 people she had sponsored in were doing 600 and 700 apiece. And, I'm Polish and Italian, forget about it. I'm not quick on the pickup. But I was able to figure this out all by myself, Al. We get paid on volume, not distributors. So this idea of sponsor more, sponsor more, sponsor more, one of the downsides of it is, number one, you're not working with people that you did sponsor because you do imply to them, you're really implying you're going to help them create a different outcome. But the other thing is retail has got lost, so I love this question. Do you think it's easier to build a group of 100 distributors doing 1,000 each a month or 1,000 distributors doing 100? Well, obviously it's easy to build a group of 100 doing 1,000 if you teach them to retail. So the age-old question, should I lead with the product or lead with the opportunity? The answer is yes, as long as you're out there leading with something. But I like to lead with the opportunity because a distributor's job is not to build relationships. It's not to show the plan. It's not to talk about how great the owners are or anything else. Your job is one thing, and that's to collect decisions. And so I figured out a little skill that I grifted and then modified from Don Failer, another great network marketer, called Fusion. And so I love to lead with the business, but my real objective is to drive a sale one way or the other. If I can't get them in the business, I'm going to sell them product. And this is really easy. It's called Fusion, and this will get you 3 to 5 customers a month. And if your product is decent, I'm sure it is, about 50% of it will stay on the books permanently. So at the end of the year, you have 24 to 30 customers. And it's really simple. Harry, I can see that you see the value in here, but you're not ready to move forward. And I'm sensing it's because of your integrity. Am I right about that? That you couldn't possibly represent anything unless you knew that it absolutely worked. Is that sort of where you're at? And if it's a guy particularly, they're going to say, absolutely. I would never work that way. I have to know the product works. And at that point you say, well, do you know the story of Alexander the Great? And they say, no. Would it be okay if I told it to you? Sure. Well, Alexander was walking down the road one day. Now, this is after they've said no to the business. They've stalled. Alexander's walking down the road one day. He's a young boy, and he sees men arguing by the side of the road, the 5 wisest men in town. And he wanders over. It's by a corral, and he notices or hears that they're arguing about the horse. How many teeth are in the horse's mouth? And he asks to speak. And they tell him, get away, boy. This is for wise minds. And so he waits, and a few minutes later he tugs on one of the robes and he says, may I ask a question? And they, what is it? Ask your question and be on your way. He says, well, why don't you hop over the fence, open the horse's mouth, and count the teeth? Does that make sense, Harry? In other words, we can't really tell unless we try it. So did you want a 2-month supply for you and your wife, or just for yourself? And you will sell 70% of those. So if you're collecting 10 decisions a month and 2 of them become reps, out of those 8, you'll get 3 to 5 customers. At the end of the year, you have 20 to 30 customers. And I love the retail question because if our job, which Al taught me, simplified it, is to collect decisions, the more decisions I collect, the more money I make. So I figured, why not collect 2 decisions from everybody I talk to. So I love to lead with the business. If I can't get the business, I'm going to ask them to buy the product and use their integrity. It's really that simple. So, Timmy asks, Al, is there a difference between a network approach and a sales approach?
I guess we'd have to redefine what those words mean, but an approach is an approach. When you and I meet people, Mark was talking about the form formula. Ask yourself, how long does it take to make a first impression? People say, oh, pretty quick. And I say, when you meet somebody, how long does it take you to decide if you want to trust or listen to them or believe them or not? And people say, oh, probably a couple seconds. So in a couple seconds, we've made a decision to trust and believe that person, whether it be sales or networking, whatever. So if the decision to have rapport with somebody happens in 3 or 4 seconds, that FORM formula for the 1960s might not serve it very well, right? Let me talk about your family for an hour until you say, why are you asking all these questions about my kid? Yeah. All right, let's talk about occupation. Let's talk about your job for an hour, about trophy on your desk, and it just goes downhill. So we probably wouldn't use that for building rapport. Rapport, the decision is that quick. And what's interesting is you ask people, how do you know whether to trust somebody or not? And they say, well, I don't know. I said, no, really. How do you make the decision to trust that person you're talking to believe them or not? And they go, well, I don't know. It's important. How do you make that decision? They say, well, I just don't know. I just have a feeling. I said, great. And where'd you get that feeling? Oh, I don't know. So think about this. The people we talk to make an automatic decision to trust us or not, but they don't have any idea how it was done or what criteria. So let me just pass on some things that don't work. As distributors, the first thing we say, I want people to trust me and listen. Because if they don't trust me and listen, who cares how good the deal is? Right. It's over. I mean, you could probably offer them your vitamins for a penny, but if they don't trust you, it's not even going to happen. So that decision is made quickly. They don't know how they make it. Maybe it's up to us to think this one through. So when I got started, here's the 4 things I use to create trust rapport. I make sure of honesty, integrity, sincere, and having their best interests at heart. And I can guarantee you those 4 things don't work.
They just don't work.
They don't work. And people, this usually the workshops are ready to riot now, threatening me. I said, well, wait. Just ask yourself, when you're out there talking to people, you're honestly as honest. Integrity, I get that, sincere, best interest. And how many people believed you and trusted you and bought? Good point. And I said, look at it another way, because this is really our career in these first few seconds. Con men. They're not honest, no integrity, not best interest at heart, sincere. But yet con men are able to get honest, hardworking people to hand over all their money in total report. 15 seconds, just like that. So I asked myself, obviously con men have specific skills that they have learned to use to create that rapport. And these skills can be used for good or evil. So when we teach the class in rapport, we say, these can be used for good or evil. What are you going to use it for? And they say, well, a little of both. But the point is, that is not the criteria they use to create that rapport. So when you're approaching people in direct sales or networking, listen to what Mark says. They've already made up their minds so quick that it's over in a heartbeat. And they make up their mind on a lot of other programs, such as maybe people have programs about salespeople.
Could be.
No, not us. Yeah, not. If they kind of think you're a salesman pushing your agenda, their programs inside their mind are going, whoop, 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 dive, Scotty, dive, shields up, salesman approaching, run, save yourself, hide your wallet, hide your purse, get the they're out of there. And they might have programs about who you are as a person. Because you might remind them of a bad experience they had. But usually the programs that they're making their decision on is, do you see the world the same way I do? And if you see the world the same way I do, you'll make the same decision. I can trust what you say. And that's why a Republican speaks, and if you're a Republican, from the moment they speak, you're going, yeah. But if you're a Democrat, from the moment they move their lips, you're saying, liar, liar, pants on fire. Because you say they don't see the world the same way I do, and vice versa. So as networkers, when we approach people in sales or networking, the first thing they're doing is making a judgment. Do you see the world the same way I do? I tend to trust people who are more like me than not like me. Because if they're not like me, you just can't trust what they say. Got to be careful. So, quick example is I don't trust people of the same religion, same ethnic background, same political party, same city, same sports team, same brand of beer. That's why Mark doesn't trust me. I'm not a Red Sox fan. But we do that. And an example would be you go to China, a billion Chinese people around you. You meet somebody from the U.S., instant rapport, instant buddies, just like that. Where are you from? I'm from New York. Where are you from? I'm from Hawaii. We're neighbors, yeah. They're all excited. So it's all about rapport. And if you watch what Mark does about creating rapport with people, it's all done way before that sales presentation or networking presentation ever happens. And that's why we have fun talking all day yesterday about all the cool things we've done and tried that worked and didn't work.
Yeah, it worked and didn't work, and met a few strangers yesterday, and they engaged,
Yeah.
And it was just basically instant rapport and that little skill that you taught, which is give me universal truth, right, that everybody agrees on, and then follow it up with another one, and then raise their curiosity. Fundamentally, what happens with people in that first 7 to 15 seconds or so is, I'll break it down for you scientifically really quickly, and you can catch this at the site, and we'll give you some links later to get some more of these skills. But basically, your brain has what's known as the limbic system, and I've made a living on the limbic system. Al just explains it the same way, only he just has a massively envious skill that I envy of being able to make things really simple.
Because I don't know what the limbic system is.
So the limbic system in your brain is the part of the brain that makes a judgment call based on the possible benefit. It's the oldest part of the brain, and it's going to go that wants to feel good now. The prefrontal cortex, which is where the future is developed, that's a much slower moving part of the brain. So when you talk to people about making money, they're instantly, because of one of the programs they have, it's work. And they don't know anything about it. I don't know anything about the work. I don't want to work. I work too much now. So they're shut off, which is why these instant rapport builders that we use, they're pretty simple, because what you need to do is build a bridge to their curiosity. You've got to bypass the limbic system that's going to make a judgment call based on the reward potential. When you ask them to look at your business, they're going to make a judgment. When you ask them to enroll, they're going to make a judgment. When you ask them to engage in making three-way calls, they're going to make a judgment. And if you don't know how to bypass or talk to the limbic system, you're dead in the water. And the way that you do it is build trust. And that instant rapport thing, understanding why people trust you, is it's a priceless insight. One of the things that I've discovered about people is they join the business for what's in it for them. And before they're going to open up and talk to you about that, they need to trust you. And again, I'm sure you caught me laughing about it. You're sincere, you believe in your product, plan, company, and everything. Not going to get you anywhere, because that's not what people are going to respond to. That's going to kick in the limbic system, and they're going to say, oh, product, I have to sell stuff, I'm done. Okay? Versus, ooh, this might pay for Jack and Jill's education, tell me more. And that's the difference between them leaning forward, meaning they've made a decision to join, or leaning back. So I love that subject. Here's a question that came in that I think is kind of important. It's about live events. And I wanted to get to this. Are live events really going to help me with my business? I get there and it doesn't seem like a lot happens, but I do like what I see.
I'm going to turn this totally over to Mark. He's umpteen levels way ahead of me on live events, and he's really a pro on this. We had a long discussion about this yesterday, too, about what he does at events, and I'm taking notes and notes and notes. So, Mark, tell them about live events, because this is really your area of expertise.
You said you were going to take the hard questions.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people, I went to events. I was coerced, and and borrowed money and all that to get to the event. Got to go to the event. Leaders are born at events. Leaders are born at events. Leaders are born at events. And the obvious question is, if leaders are born at events, does that mean that all the fun happens 9 months earlier? Right? This is so
I'll remember that one.
steal that one. But anyway, and got disappointing results. And I started to notice something, went back to Think and Grow Rich and read the chapter on organized planning. In events, I was told, for every distributor you get there, you're going to get, 50 to 100 new distributors in your organization. So if you get 10 people there within 6 to 12 months, your organization will be between 500 and 1,000 people. And that sounded pretty good to me, only it really wasn't happening. And I started to really study inside Think and Grow Rich organized planning. I said, I need an organized plan to go here. So the next event, I observed what happened. This is what happens at events. People stop working about 10 days before. They go to the event, they have a great time, they get all charged up, they're sold the dream again by the company. And I don't think that that's a bad thing. We do need our batteries recharged once in a while. And then they get home and they don't know what to do. I said, if I can address those 3 areas, it'll work out great. So you have to have a plan to keep yourself active up until the convention. We'd run a biz op the night before we left. And then you have to have a plan at the convention. And that's pretty simple. We get distributors to write down their 2 biggest challenges beforehand and let them know that they'll find the solutions there. Talk to higher pin levels and say, do you know how to get more names? Do you know how to close? And make a list of these things. And then we'd meet with them Sunday and we'd schedule the work. And then, but this is the most important thing, is before we left, we'd schedule a biz op meeting for the Thursday or Friday when we got back. We'd let everybody know, and we'd make sure that everybody scheduled a couple of hours of calling time a day. Now, I know this is really quick, but we've actually set up, this is a skill that we have for you. It's free. Like I told you in the promos, nothing for sale. If you go to go90grow.net and put your right email in, you'll get a 45-minute webcast as well as about a 20-page PDF that'll lay out this strategy. So after 2 failings at events, the first time we tried it, we got down there with about 15 people, and it grew to about 80 in 4 months. We refined a little bit, and that's what you're getting, the refined version. The last iteration of it, I got 41 people to a Zango convention, which was the last deal I built, and we've sold all our networking off. And within 7 months, we were over 4,000 people. We just exploded because of this strategy. So you can get that at go90grow.net. Let me give you another site because there's so many nuggets of wisdom in Al's books. It's bigalbooks.com. Definitely get to that site. They're really simple and easy to read and explained in a language that everybody understands. So that's a big thing, events. They will not build your business if you don't have a strategy for before, after, and during. Because what happens is if they stop 10 days before, they get all excited, and then they don't do anything for 4 or 5 days because they don't know what to do. What's really happened, the 10 distributors that you got there, they spent collectively $10,000 to $15,000. They're further in debt, and their business isn't any further along, and they're going to poison new people they can get down to the convention. And this is a thing that will make or break your business. It will not work if you don't have a plan going in. So grab that plan at go90grow.net and get to Al's books at bigalbooks.com. So this one is pretty cool. Best soccer mom approach. So someone that's involved in soccer or sports, what's the best way to approach other moms there?
Well, we talked earlier about telling people a fact that they agree upon is a great way of building rapport, like jobs interfere with the week. So ask yourself, if there's another soccer mom, what could she agree upon? Because how you start the conversation is going to set the tone for everything. It's all downhill once you have their trust and belief because they'll hear your message, and the message is good. Now, if you don't have very much trust, then you're pretty much dead. Yeah, no matter how good your message is. So all we want them to do is say, you and I have similar viewpoints. I can listen to what you say with an open mind. So what could we say to that soccer mom that would get her to say, yeah, you and I see the world the same way? And maybe things like, we all want more time with our children. Well, a great way to start. Or jobs interfere with our week, or it's hard being a mom, a full-time employee, and a spouse, and having any free time. Or, yeah, it'd be great if we could work out of our home. Or it'd be great if we could pick up our children from school. Or we might say things like, it'd be great if we could earn more money part-time than we used to full-time. Or it'd be great if we earned more money part-time than our husband did full-time.
That's a big one right there.
Yeah, certain
That's
soccer
a big
moms
one
will,
right there.
Yeah, take that.
Yeah. Well, you
What
gotta,
would that be?
yeah. Well, you got to think, if they're at a soccer game, they're either competitive to begin with. You know, if they're the type that's edging towards the thing and they're really watching the dog and they're going like this with their body, they're competitive. And that thing about, you know, some moms have found a way to earn more money part-time than their husbands do full-time. My cousin Barbara, she pushed me like a Elaine Bettis on Seinfeld. She said, "Dad, I can make more money than Ricky." I hadn't been able to get her to the table for a year. She came to the table, and interestingly enough, she got her brother, who's my cousin John, in the business, who I wasn't able to get to the table. And it was on that one sentence. So I look for, you know, people at the soccer game or at sporting events that their body language, they're moving for the kids because they're competitive. And competitive people are very easy to motivate. They got a button on their head, right?
The competitive people, what Mark's talked about is the red personality. They're very competitive, like being number one. They're results oriented, and they always respond to a challenge. And you can give them a real easy challenge by just saying, "I got this business that I thought you'd be good at, but I'm not really sure you could do it."
Right.
And they're like, "Really?" They're grabbing you by the throat. And they just want to know what it is. So, soccer moms, I think every soccer mom in the world would love to have more time with the children, have more activities with the children, to maybe have their career that they designed themselves. I'd say that'd be pretty easy.
Right.
And even if they're a stay-at-home mom, just for the social life, for some stay-at-home moms, they're tired of talking to their children 24 hours a day and would like to have some outside intellectual stimulation from other moms or other people.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think soccer moms would be pretty easy because they might desperately want what we have to offer.
Yeah, I think what's really important in whatever group you're in, whether you're playing a golf league or you're an athletic student's parent or whatever, is try to think about, look around, be an observer. There is so much money. There's literally gold laying on the streets for people that are observers rather than carrying your agenda. Lay your agenda down and try to look for commonalities in people, because that's the thing that you can talk to them about. You have some things in common with these people. Do you know what they are? And if you don't, that's a pretty good clue that you're running on self-centered fear rather than service to other people. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I have some friends, Bob and Anna Bassett in Canada, and they say, stop being solution pushers, start being problem solvers. And the only reason for a business to exist is to solve people's problems. Otherwise, there's no reason for business. That means if people never got hungry, having a restaurant would be a bad deal.
Right.
Never got sleepy, having a hotel would be bad. If people live forever, vitamins wouldn't sell very well. So the deal is we have to solve people's problems. And the only way you can solve their problem is to know what it is, and that requires listening skills. I like it when distributors ask me all the time, say, well, what should I say to prospects? And I'm thinking, you missed the boat already. You should be saying, what should I listen for from prospects?
Exactly.
Yeah, our whole business is based upon solving their problem. And if we're talking about whatever our company did, it's not solving their problem. Right. So it's the great listeners that have the ability. So the introverted people, oh yeah, we rock. Because we're good listeners. Because we don't know what to say. But, the outgoing people, it's a little more challenging for them because they know what to say. They have to bite their tongue and listen to find out what people's problems are. So if you're shy and watching this cast, hey, we rock.
We rock. And, for me, it's a discipline. And for other people, it comes naturally. But it doesn't matter. You just have to know. And I think one of the things that I did for years, Tom, was I taught listening classes. And man, the whiteboard would be up there. I'd have 8 or 10 people in a living room. I'd be writing beads of perspiration flying off my head, my ass wiggling. and teaching them to listen. You got to listen, and they did. And then I'd find another little listening course, and I'd learn that, and I'd go and teach that, and then another one. And this went on, I think, was it 4 or 5 times, honey, we taught listening? 5 times we taught listening over about a 14, 15-month period. Didn't work. I learned the colors, and by teaching colors, Tom, I've never had to teach listening again. Just go out and listen for the color. And you don't even say listen, just say, try to identify their color. If you're good, you might get 50%. Make a game of it and have some fun. And so I taught the colors. He's got a great. That book's kind of doing really well for you right now, right? The color book that you wrote.
Yeah, a lot of people read it. Haven't colored it, but
Yeah,
they read it.
yeah, that's the one thing I thought you should have left some lines to color in. But anyway, the main thing is that if you teach people the colors, or actually have an expert do it. And we have, you can go to Lazy Network or colorcode.com and actually be sure about what your color is. You'll deny it, but that's okay. And get Tom's book so you can get some practical applications of how to get it into your field. They'll start listening just by listening to the color. One of the things that we insisted on, both with prospects, but more with distributors in our groups, was to make the colors the currency of the conversation. That's how we communicated. It's why our groups did better. Quite frankly, we were, and I'm telling you this to let you know the value of it, not to say what a great job I did. When we were top 50 earners at Zango, our group was 70% smaller. How were we able to do that? More people were more productive because we talked in a language that they understood. And I'm grateful for you coming out with that and teaching me that. It's a great book, and you can get that at bigalbooks.com.
For those of you that are not familiar with the colors, roughly there's just 4 personalities. We just think different. One personality loves to help people, another one loves to have fun and party, another one likes to be number one, get results, and then there's the 4th personality, the correct one, which is information-based, which is we take a long time to make decisions and move forward. So when people know that there's 4 ways that we're wired, we say, try to figure out what color your prospect is. And to do that, they're forced to listen. And just by sitting there and even just appearing to listen, it even helps because people will trust you more if you listen. So if you're shy and introverted and don't know what to say, at least you're appearing to listen, and that's even helpful right there.
Exactly.
So just by having a system say, look at them, try to figure something out, that just makes people listen.
Yeah. I can't recommend it highly enough. Dave and I used profiling, behavioral profiles way back in '95. It was so much easier. And one of the things that I've shared with people that I picked up from you, if you will make it a habit, you will sponsor 1 to 3 people a month by accident because you'll hit their color. People join, and we've both said it in different ways here, they join for what's in it for them. And if you know what their motive is, money, intimacy, adventure and fun, or peace, which is really what the information people about, they want peace, they want to make the right decisions. It's not about sounding right for them, they actually do the research. They want to make the right decisions. When you can talk to that person and know, if you're talking to my wife, for example, she's not about the money, but this will really help your daughters. You're talking to her. With me, if it's about the money, it's about the bottom line, because I'm going to figure out how I can use that to help everybody so I feel better about myself, because I know I'm supposed to, but with Dave, it's automatic. So that's a really key element. And one of the things that we talked about yesterday, we wanted to give a little shout out. You and I had a really nice little belly laugh almost yesterday. At least almost a belly laugh for a light, right? We were talking about Andrea Walsh and her book, Go for No, which was contrary to everything that you and I talk about. We think it's easy to get a yes. So we wanted to give her a little shout out. And I think it's really interesting that she's in motion. She's advocating talking to people.
Andrea, she's really good. She and Richard have this book says Go for No. Try to get as many no's as you can. And for me, I hate rejection, full-time coward. I don't like that at all. I'm just going for the yeses. But her way of doing it is totally opposite and very legitimate. So when she explained it, I said, "Oh, that's interesting. I don't believe a word of it, but it's pretty cool." And I only have one point of view, so I got a bunch of books and CDs and sent out about 300 of them. And people appreciate that there's not just one way of doing the business. So she's not asking to go out and get rejection. She says, keep asking. People might say no, but ask them in another way, or ask about something different. Ask about something different to make sure that you've served all their problems. And they can say no to all of them. That's fine, but you don't want to leave, and maybe you might have a solution to one of their problems. So it's really a good book, and her and Richard does a great job presenting it.
Yeah.
And what's neat about our business is you don't have to take one viewpoint. There's several viewpoints you can take.
Right. Yeah, unless you're like me and you know what the right one is.
Oh, yeah, of course, the Reds are always right.
Reds are always right. So I think what's really important about what we came to the conclusion yesterday, and Andrea and Richard were over here in Hawaii, and we talked about it because Davine said had made a comment about getting no's, and we want to get yeses instead. The bottom line is you got to go. You got to talk. If you say that all the time. If you're going to make some money, we got to talk to people. And when we do, sometimes we get them to the table and they give us an objection. They don't have the time or don't have the money. This actually came in from Jim. How do you deal with objections?
Objections is probably a way of saying no. I'm living next to you, and I come over with this really hot network marketing business that I'm really proud of, and you don't want to have anything to do with it. It's impolite for you to say, no, Big Al, you're an idiot. That's just stupid. I'd never be in business with you. Because you think, wait a minute, I live next door to him. I'm going to have to live there for a long time. If I make him mad, he's going to send his dog over to take a dump on my lawn every day. So how do we tell people no? Well, some of the best ways of telling people no are, I don't have any time, I don't have any money, I was born of orphan parents, I don't know anybody, I know 3 people, 2 of them hate me, it's not for me, we don't do these sort of things, it's a pyramid, I got to think things over. All these are ways of saying no in a very polite, civilized way so you don't hurt somebody's feelings. So don't take it personally. When you hear that, you might be saying to yourself, okay, they were pre-sold when I got here. Now they're not. Must have been something about what I said. Or did, huh? So maybe I shouldn't have run over their dog. Yeah. And maybe I shouldn't have used the pyramid term 4 times during the presentation. Right. And maybe I shouldn't have talked for 3 hours, not say, hold your question until I finish.
Right.
So it's probably something we said or did along the way, and we just have to own up to it.
Yeah. I hope you're really hearing that because it's a brilliant insight. And I haven't dealt with an objection since 1999. That was the last time I dealt with an objection. And at go90grow.net, we've set up that strategy for you for events and how you'll never have to deal with objections. But the very core of it is exactly what you're saying. If they're pre-sold, and they are if they're meeting with you to know what you're doing, if they're pre-sold and they don't do it, we've done something to talk them out of it. So instead of worrying about overcoming the objection, start thinking about what could I do differently, what did I do right, and what could I improve on. If you'll do that, take responsibility for the fact they're not rejecting you, because I'm going to tell you something about all these cute little answers online about how to deal with pyramids and time and all that. They don't work because it's not the real objection. Something happened in the transmission from them saying, yes, I'm ready to join. When they show up, folks, they're coming to join. Something happened between there and the end that actually had you talking them out of it. So are we good for time, honey? Are we done? Okay, great. What do you got for time?
11:05.
11:05.
Hawaiian time.
Hawaiian time, right? So we really appreciate you being here. Al, thanks so much. It's so thrilling to have you here and have to spend some time with you in a relaxed atmosphere. I hope you enjoyed yourself. Words of wisdom for anybody in closing?
This is just one way to do it. There's lots of roads to Kauai. Well, not too many, you're an island, but in other places there would be lots of roads. There's lots of ways of doing it, and if you're working this business in the beginning, when they make the decision, where it all happens. We used the example earlier. If you invite them to a meeting, they don't come, they made a decision. If you invite them to a meeting or to meet with you and they do come, they made a decision. Just don't talk them out of it.
Exactly. There's 7 billion people on the planet. You're never going to be out of people to talk to, but you have to talk to them.
And we're talking about go for no and go for yes. Mark yesterday said the common word in there is go.
Go, 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 go. Peace be the journey. Mahalo for tuning in. And Tom, thanks for sitting here with me and spending some time with us. Peace out.
Bye from Hawaii.